Alright, so I'm doing a challenge trying to platinum every single game inside of the Ubisoft Plus game catalog on PlayStation. And if I can't do it before we hit 690,000 subscribers on YouTube, then I have to tattoo the platinum logo somewhere on my body. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe. Alright, so today I chose to platinum South Park: The Fractured Butthole. This is the second South Park game in the series, and after playing it all day yesterday, I can confidently say that half of this video is probably going to get me demonetized on YouTube. But there is only 36 trophies inside, including the platinum. And most are gotten from the story directly or just achieved while you are playing through the game's story because it's shockingly long. There is absolutely no reason why this game's story took me just as long as Far Cry 5's platinum did. That is insane.
That's what I'm saying.
Stage 1 is to beat the story, of course, and you also have to never change your skin tone away from black because this game asks you multiple times if you want to change it, but if you do, you will be opted out of the difficulty trophy right here. Yes, this game's difficulty is based on skin tone. Welcome to South Park, ladies and gentlemen. I had 2 trophies before we started, by the way, since I have played this game before, but that was quite a while ago. The game first opens up with you and all the kids role-playing medieval times and stuff. This is also a little intro into the game's combat mechanics, which are kind of similar to card games like Clash Royale. But after the combat introduction, we watch as Eric Cartman, the furry god himself, comes in and shows us there is a massive $100 reward for finding this cat right here. And this is what causes everyone to throw out the medieval gear, and now we are playing superheroes. God, this is exactly what my childhood was like. Also, that is the plot for this entire game. We're all just after this one cat so we can get money. Anyways, I found the passcode to Eric's basement, and then we basically just stalked him until the guy gave up with us and let us join his superhero team. You also got to choose a class, and I just chose the Brutalist because it sounded like the most action-packed. There is then a backstory, and this backstory gets brought up over and over throughout the game. But basically, our villain origin story is that we walked in on our dad with our mom. That's traumatizing. The beginning of this game is also very slow because there is a shockingly big map with lots of stuff happening in it. But the next funny, cool mission was when we fought this kid who has pubes for hair. I actually went to middle school with a kid just like that, but this fight wasn't exactly going our way since we are still very weak. Thankfully, this kid watches too much WWE and tried to attack us from a flying bed attack. He probably needs some medical attention. Oh yeah, I also got to talk to Morgan Freeman, who owns a taco shop in South Park. What a great businessman. I would then have to go save or get one of our homies from this very interesting restaurant named Raisins, which is a spin-off of Hooters for reasons that I don't want to explain. But this fight was actually shockingly hard. Granted, we are playing the hardest difficulty, so it makes sense. But I literally failed it, and we've only been here for an hour so far. Now, it's kind of sad. Even South Park has defeated me. The main reason it's so hard is mostly due to the confusion moves that the Raisin Girls have, where basically any of them can just use it on any of my people, and then they start attacking me, and I can't use them in the fight. Not a fun time whatsoever, might I add. I did figure it out eventually, and I'm not ashamed to say that I did enjoy beating up these little girls, because I did, goddammit. I then had a main story mission that sent me to the elementary school and right on into the counselor's office to talk about sex, or rather my gender. And I'm not gonna lie, if this was the school counselor I had to talk about that stuff with, I would probably sit there cold stone face just like my character does. After that traumatizing experience, I also got called to church so I could repent for beating up little girls. Honestly, understandable, but this is a Catholic church and they took me to the back room. What happened next will all be up to your own assumptions because I'm not uttering what these priests did or wanted to do to me. But make your own judgments based on their attacks inside of this fight. God, this game is something. Also, after that fight, I had some new resources and crafted the Pasta of Prophets. This is basically a revive all item that you can use in fights, and it also gave me my first trophy of the day. I then got to fight some low-class kids dressed in tinfoil and also some 6th graders, which are the worst evil in this game. And that's pretty accurate. My life hasn't been the same since middle school. But once we made it back to the superhero home basement, I got posed with an option to choose yet again another power. And we went through the same backstory as last time with nothing changing and still being traumatized. But this time I got a trophy to make me feel better. We then got confronted by a neighboring superhero team and they of course battled us. During the fight though, it was looking dire and I used the Moses item from earlier, which not only gave me a trophy for using a summon, but also for getting friended by Moses, I'm pretty sure, and that made me reach 10 followers inside the game's little social media thing for another trophy. This fight against the other heroes, however, wasn't close to being over, and I was left all alone in a 1v1 situation. Now, me being the god-tier genius gamer legend that I am, this was no challenge at all, leaving me with an easy victory and a trophy for winning a fight while all of my allies are down. I then went back home and changed out of my superhero gear because it's nighttime, but only to walk in on my good old parents arguing. Ah, married life.
Oh my god!
This is what drives me to just platinum games all day instead. But after I ate all alone, depressing like, I went back to my room and looted this chest which gave me insane amounts of items. Both from quests I did and also quite a few Ubisoft Club things which I still don't know how I signed up for. But goddamn, they love giving me stuff in every single game, including this trophy. So now it's nighttime of the first day, and this is when the superhero actions really kick up. Like for example, we beat up a drunk man keying his own car. And we also snuck into the local strip club. I'm not only blurring this all because it is a strip club, but also because the strippers might be some of the most disgusting creatures I've ever seen in my life, and I have no shame in saying that. I'm also not going to show much of this mission because it is all inside of a strip club. But we did have a huge fight with like the entire staff, and if they weren't already deformed, they definitely are now. After that, we did chase a stripper into an Italian restaurant right next door because she has info on the missing cat from earlier. And for some unknown reason, drunk Randy showed up to fight us again. However, this time it's red wine drunk Randy, the worst kind of drunk. So basically he had like a final boss level of fighting going on, and the fight was actually super difficult. I not only died in it, but I also restarted on my own numerous times because I knew the outcome would be the same and would just happen over and over. However, I did finally figure it out, and then I got a trophy, of course, from beating him. That stripper also came back with us to Eric's house. I kind of wonder what his parents think of that. Oh yeah, we also unlocked this fart power where you can stop time and stuff, and I used it on a fight the next day right away. Also, it killed someone and gave me a trophy for doing that. I was then fighting again in the park against more 6th graders, and after winning, I guess I leveled up to my max rank or something, because it gave me a trophy called Titleist, which is for reaching the highest rank on one title in the character sheet, whatever the hell that means. I also got hired as a part-time detective for the police force since I have been raising in popularity on the streets as a vigilante. And the first house I got sent to was just some normal black guy's house. But you know, the police force in America is very special, so we just beat him up for no reason and arrested him, which gave me a trophy. I don't condone these actions, but they are funny. I then went to the bar to talk to the school's principal, who is day drinking. Gotta love the leaders they chose in this town. But he did teach us some good lessons on microaggressions, or if you're not familiar with what that is, racist jokes, and we even fought him in the bar. But then he sent us back to the counselor to choose our gender again and sexual preference. Now it's been a while since I was in elementary school, so I can't really remember if this kind of questioning went down. It was much more like, why did you call the fat kid fat 23 times in one day? I also had to fight a bunch of rednecks outside the elementary school once they found out I was a straight male, so they must be on Twitter a lot. But the next trophy I got was once I finished this fight against more 6th graders, and it was for getting 100 biohazard items, so I assume I got given some after the fight or something, I don't really know. I then went an hour or so without any more trophies, and it even ended up being nighttime again. However, this mission is where the plot really kicks up for the game, and it also takes absolutely forever to complete. You are essentially trying to break into the Chaos Lair. The Chaos enemies are like the villains opposed to being superheroes, and you know, you gotta do some puzzles here and there to get into the base. But once you're there, you have to do a giant fight with the leaders like second in command, and oh my god, this fight is absolutely awful. At one point during it, the guy just spawns in this giant ass enemy that can basically one-shot you if you're not careful, so it's a giant pain in the ass essentially. And as you could guess, we spent a hot minute here failing before finally winning and still being stuck there. We did unlock this new fart power though, where you unleash the goodies into a vacuum, and it can basically clear the quote-unquote lava around the map. There was still more fights here in the Chaos base however, and on the second one I was getting a bit better at combat, especially combat where you were supposed to lose. So I ended up healing one of my enemies a shit load, and when I say a shit load, I mean twice his max health during one fight, which gave me a trophy because of just how ridiculous that actually is. There was then one more fight here in the Chaos base, and would ultimately be the conclusion of Night 2, but it had us fight against their actual leader and his army of paid immigrant workers. Now that's what I call a suit of armor right there, especially with all the rights they're getting nowadays. But anyways, the fight wasn't that bad because this guy was sort of a solid object and didn't really move around a lot, which would indeed make attacking and not getting hit much easier. There wasn't any trophies for beating the boss himself, however, but it did lead into numerous, and I mean numerous, cutscenes. In fact, for a while there, I thought I was just watching South Park on my monitor. Basically, all these cutscenes just explained the city's outrage that a farting vigilante is on the rise, and also we found out the police chief is evil and is working for a talking hand, who is the person behind it all. You know, the cat stealing, drugs, crime, yeah, you heard that. South Park, ladies and gentlemen. And I finally got a trophy after that's conclusion. Alright, so the next like 5 trophies I got are pretty much all just story and are very spread out. But essentially what happens is we break into the police station because we find out that they are indeed evil and also doing coke in the middle of a crime spree happening. But after traversing through the facility, we also find out they arrested like every single black person in the town. And even worse, they are feeding them all to this monster in the basement. So this is literally like a cult ritual and something out of a goddamn Jordan Peele movie. And we of course had to fight them, but the way to win the fight is to kill the monster, which is done by none other than feeding it white people. I seriously could not make this shit up even if I tried. There is absolutely no way the writers for this game weren't smoking a fatty while writing this. But once I beat the monster, I got a trophy for unlocking max perks on my character sheet, and another after just for finishing that mission and quote-unquote putting an end to racism. After that, I also upgraded my character more and reached a power level rating of 600, which is good enough for a trophy, so I can't complain. A bit later, after the night missions were all over, I was just crafting stuff and got a crafting trophy in addition. And I was actually low leveled right now, so before starting some of the final missions in the game, I of course needed to level myself up. And what better way than to go beat up little girls again? God, this game is so special needs. But during this fight, I ended up using the final ultimate power I had yet to use and received a trophy called Orgy of Power for using every single character's ultimate power. I would then end up being at the right power level for the next main story mission, and this one consisted of us going to the mutation plant atop this hill, because South Park has a mad scientist lab. Honestly, I wouldn't expect anything else, but we also learned how to time travel with farts, so this game's plot is only going to get more confusing after this. But inside the mutation plant, basically everything went to hell and all the mutations got let loose. After fighting some of the bigger ones, I also got given some new resources and crafted my first artifact in the game for a trophy. We then had to do a lot of stuff that I honestly don't feel like explaining because it's all so random. This game's plot almost made sense until this final part of the game. But the pube-haired kid came back to life after his devastating injury in the beginning of the game, and he has sadly been injected with like almost as much steroids as Sam Sulek uses, and the fight took ages to complete. Thankfully, it wasn't that hard since this guy is massive and can't really attack that often, which is why once we took him down, the trophy popped just for that. Now that's pretty much the end of the story in my opinion, because what comes after is just a bunch of time travel with farts. And overall, it's extremely dumb and confusing. I would be lying to myself if I could actually explain it, so I just won't. But I did end up playing as Santa Claus at one point, so that's interesting. We also did fight ourselves in the past and stuff, you know, typical time travel shenanigans. But ultimately, the game ended when Eric Cartman was back on stage and made up an evil backstory for the Hand, who was behind everything, I guess. And again, the backstory was the same as our backstory. Yeah. Overall, I think I lost chromosomes with this game's story, and that's saying something knowing my level of humor. That's what I'm saying. But the final story trophy I got was called the Token Experience, and it's from playing through the entire game as a black character on Mastermind difficulty. God bless America. Stage 2 begins now, and this is the final stage because the last trophies are all just cleanup ones, mostly being collectibles. First, I went after the toilet trophy from pooping in every toilet in the game at master rating. It's very self-explanatory, but I did miss one on accident because I was unaware you had to do both inside the police station. Simply a skill issue, yes I know. But I did do it and there's the trophy. Next I went after another collectible and it's on these things called yaoi art or something, which is inappropriate pieces of art featuring only men, so I'm not going to show that, but there's the trophy for it. God, my ad revenue is going to be negative on this video. Anyways, next trophy was just from unlocking all the fart powers in the game. You get 3 of these from just the story, but the final one I had to go out of my way for, and I had to make this special burrito creation. The final step was to harass an old man and then steal his grape juice. A true crime. There was also a trophy gotten from fighting Morgan Freeman and beating him, which I thought was hilarious. Even more funny though is that he will not fight you unless you are a white person. So who's the racist now, huh? But yeah, there's that trophy. The fight wasn't hard at all, by the way. And I got another right after when I threw on 3 random clothing outfits at once. I also got a trophy for just using 4 different attacks from different classes at the same time. This was kind of confusing though, mostly because it doesn't pop until you back out of the menu, which is why I thought I was doing it wrong when I really wasn't. I then headed to another trophy's location, but on the way I got jumped by some ninja assassins. So I took this as the perfect opportunity to use a confusion move on one and pray that he killed his homie, which indeed worked because he did, and I got a trophy for eliminating an enemy with another enemy. God, I'm so good. I then stole all the loot from the homeless camp because I'm a menace to society. I also climbed the structure right next to the homeless camp and then climbed down, which is a trophy because homeless people could never accomplish such a feat. I also gave a naked homeless guy some drugs, which was a trophy because only heroes can do God's work. And the final trophy I had left left in the glorious South Park game was from playing this minigame where you have to spin a wheel and mock economic situations, getting all the way to the 0.01% of society. Now this is supposedly hard to do, but I literally did it within 10 minutes and only failed once. You can also save every time you win or go up a level, which makes completing this even easier. So yeah, there's the final trophy and the platinum right after. That was the South Park Fractured Butthole Platinum Trophy experience. Overall, the game is pretty good and the humor is ridiculous to the point where I couldn't add in most of it since I would get in trouble with YouTube. But the game is quite fun, even though the plot makes absolutely zero sense and is overall kind of stupid. So I'm going to give the South Park Fractured Butthole game a rating of 7 out of 10, only because I feel like replaying it is impossible since it would be super boring. But yeah, that's all. Thanks for watching.